Paramashivoham. Om Nithyananda Paramashivoham. Om Nithyananda Paramashivoham. Paramashivoham. Om Nithyananda Paramashivoham.
Yes. So you can see the live stream in the YouTube. You can actually go to the super chat or the super sticker here, and you can offer your gratitude to Devi Parashakti today. And we also have the Sankalpa chanting, where you will be guided on to this page when you click onto that link. And as you go to the next, click onto the next here, and you can actually accept and affirm all these things and give all your details, your first name, date, email, your phone number, state, country, and whatever offering you want to offer. And you can submit this page. So before that, we'll also be moving on to the link, the tiny.cc/offerings to Parashakti. So you can go to this page and you'll be guided and choose an option in the sevas. So these are the various sevas you can offer: the Padma Pushpam, Swarna Metti, Swarna Mantika. You can click on to any one of those options and you can add to the cart. So it is $2,008. You can add to the cart. Yes, as you add to the cart, you'll be guided on to this page and you can proceed to checkout. And you have to provide your billing details and you can place your order after you provide your billing details. So after this, after you submit this, after you are guided to this and your billing is finished, you can move on to the Sankalpa page and you can actually enter your details for your name to be chanted. Yes, so with that, we come to the conclusion of this segment. So we'll be moving on to the next segment. Thank you.
There are some great spiritual sciences unique to Hinduism. Subtle, otherworldly, but definitive sign. Manifesting the cosmic beings in Archavatara, deities in Nijavatara, living incarnations is possible. Understand? Kriya Pada of Vedas and Agamas elaborately explain the whole science of making the cosmic beings manifest in Archavatara, deities and Nijavatara, living incarnation, both. During the Bhava Samadhi Darshan, literally those cosmic beings manifest through this body. Just like how they manifest in Archavatara, deity, they manifest in Nijavatara, Pratyakshavatara, and give you all the boons you ask, bless you. You see, each God is an independent intelligence to lead you to enlightenment. Each God is a bridge for you to achieve the Shivatva, the ultimate Shiva consciousness. Krishna is the bridge for you to achieve the Krishna consciousness. But Shiva consciousness, Krishna consciousness, all consciousness is one and the same. Ultimate consciousness only. So that energy itself completely expresses.
Just like Radhika, When I see my own sweetness in the mirror, I become eager to taste it. I find that the only way to relish this sweetness is through the constitution of Sri Radhika.
Bhava Samadhi Darshan is a window to the infinite expanse of consciousness, allowing us to glimpse the formless in a way that we can understand. It cleanses the karmas of lifetimes. It awakens our biomemory to the space of Paramashiva, the ultimate consciousness, and creates a deep and lasting transformation in us.
Welcome back, dear viewers. Now, in the next segment of today's program, we are going to share with you about Kailasa's multi-layer quarantine opportunities for India during COVID-19 as a practical solution resulting in health, joy, and bliss. How the Supreme Court of Hinduism has taken responsibility to provide multi-layer quarantine, which is the most important requirement to protect us living in India. So we're going to play a short clip of what Devi Parashakti had revealed in Akashic readings about what is really happening in India. The hell, as described in the Hindu scriptures, is Kirmi Bhojanam, and India is literally becoming that hell as we speak. Let us hear what Devi Parashakti has to say.
நீ சொல்லும் நபர்கள் போடும் சண்டை சச்சரவெல்லாம் எரியும் பெருநெருப்பில் இருக்கும் இரண்டு எலிகள் போடும் சண்டை போன்றது. யார் சரி யார் தவறென்பது இப்பொழுது முக்கியம் அல்ல. உயிர் காத்துக் கொள்ளுங்கள், எல்லோரும் நன்றாய் புரிந்து கொள்ளுங்கள். நன்மையைச் சொல்லுகின்றேன், உண்மையைச் சொல்லுகின்றேன். இந்திய நாட்டில் இருக்கும் மக்கள் எல்லோரும் கேளுங்கள். கருட புராணத்தில் வியாசன் சொன்ன கிருமி போஜனம் என்னும் நரகம் திறந்து நேரடியாய் இந்தியா மீது இடிபோல் விழுகின்றது. ஆதி கைலாசத்திற்கு ஓடிச் சென்று வருமுன் காத்துக்கொள்வது மட்டுமே ஒரே வழி. கொரோனா பெருந்தொற்று கொள்ளை நோய் கிருமி போஜனம் எனும் நரகத்தை பூமிக்கு கொண்டு வந்து விட்டது. அகோர தாண்டவத்தின் ஆட்டம் யாராலும் அடக்க முடியாத அளவிற்கு ஆரம்பித்து விட்டது. புதிதாய் உருக்கொண்டிருக்கும் இந்த நுண்ணுயிரி மைல்கள் கடந்தும் காற்றினில் உயிரோடு இருந்து மற்ற உயிர்களையும் அழித்து உடல்களை தின்னும் பெரும் வலிவு கொண்ட பேரசுரர்களாய் வலம் வர துவங்கி விடுகின்றது. நன்றாய் புரிந்து கொள்ளுங்கள். வருமுன் காத்துக் கொள்ளுங்கள், அது ஒன்றே வழி. அதற்காகவே ஆதி கைலாசத்தை திறந்து வைத்திருக்கின்றேன். உயிர் காத்துக் கொள்ள வேண்டி விரும்பும் எல்லோரும் ஓடுங்கள் ஆதி கைலாசத்திற்கு. இந்தியாவில்தான் இந்த நரகம் திறந்து உலகெங்கும் பரவப் போகின்றது. கிருமி போஜன நரகம் பூமிக்கு வந்துவிட்டது. மனிதர்கள் செய்த மகா கொடுமைகளினால்
அன்னை முன்னின்று என் அடியவரை காப்பேன் சொல்வதை கேட்டு உயிர் காத்து கொள்ள விரும்புவோர் வருமுன் காப்பது ஒன்றே வழி என்று தெரிந்து செல்லுங்கள் ஆதி கையிலைக்கு. ஓம் ஓம் ஓம். நீ சொல்லும் நபர்கள் போடும் சண்டை.
We are now going to be sharing with you the English translation of what Devi Parashakti has revealed. Everyone in India, all of you listen. The hell of Kirimi Bhojanam that was mentioned by Vyasa in Garuda Puranam has opened and is directly falling on India as a thunder. Running to Adi Kailasa and protection by preventive quarantine from it is the only way. Deadly corona, life-taking disease has brought hell known as Kirimi Bhojanam to earth. The dance of Aghora Tandava, which no one could control, has started. This microorganism that has formed will be alive in the air for miles together. Destroying other souls, it will eat the bodies. It has started roaming as great demons with tremendous strength. Understand properly, prevention is the only way. For that, I have opened Adi Kailasa. For those who want to save their lives, all of you run to Adi Kailasa. Only in India, this hell is going to open and is going to spread to the whole world. The Kirimi Bhojanam hell has come to planet Earth because of the sufferings done by the humans. Mother, I will protect those at my feet, those who listen to me and wish to save their lives, learning that prevention is the only way. Go to Adi Kailasa. Now let us understand what is Kirimi Bhojanam. Kirimi Bhojanam is one of the 28 hells described in Hindu scriptures, where people are sent to suffer in a pit to be eaten up by worms. It is mentioned in Garuda Purana, the chapter Cosmogony of Hell and Nether Regions. It is also mentioned in various other scriptures. It is mentioned in the Devi Bhagavata Purana, the Skanda Purana, the Shiva Purana, the Brahma Purana, and the Padma Purana. Now let us see the situation around the world in the year 2021. This is the last updated numbers of COVID-19 around the world in the year as latest as the 6th of June 2021. So the number of cases that have been affected are 173 million cases around the world and 3.7 million deaths. And vaccines have been administered, vaccine doses that have been administered so far is about 2 billion vaccine sources have been administered.
Yes. So the world's most infectious disease is now airborne. So COVID is airborne, the scientists say, and now authorities think so too. So this is a new news article which also reveals a quiet revolution has permeated global health circles, and authorities have come to accept what many researchers have argued for over a year. The coronavirus can spread through air. So that new acceptance by the World Health Organization and US Centers for Disease Control and Prevention comes with concrete implications. So scientists are calling for ventilation systems to be overhauled like public water supplies, where in the 1800s after fetid pipes were found to harbor cholera. So cleaner indoor air won't just fight the pandemic, it will minimize the risk of catching flu and other respiratory infections that cost the US more than $50 billion a year, researchers said in a study. Sorry, more than 50 billion a year. So avoiding these germs and their associated sickness and productivity losses would therefore offset the cost of upgrading ventilation and filtration in buildings.
Here you can see various articles which now has led, the world is slowly now realizing or ready to accept and ready to publish that coronavirus is airborne. So here you can see this is an article from Mint where it says it was only last week that the World Health Organization and the CDC in US made this official with the vaccine that the discussing about the airborne transmission of COVID virus, and only now it has become official.
We also have one of these news articles which says the airborne COVID threat is confirmed and what to do about it. So the Hindu explains this airborne transmission of COVID-19 at risk. So we can also see a few more news articles describing that COVID-19 is literally airborne.
And here you can see that how it is transmitted. See, the key difference in transmission. If it is a droplet from cough and sneezes can spread droplets of saliva and mucus. Now that is about 5 microns, right? That virus diameter is like 5 microns, the size. Now in terms of airborne, the tiny particles possibly produced by talking are suspended in the air for longer and travel farther. So not just with sneezing or some people who's coughing, but just because you're talking and in that whatever you speak, that virus can get transmitted through that, and it is less than 5 microns. So, and they are travel faster and longer. So we need to really protect ourselves from even breathing the air in a place where people are with COVID affected patients.
So we can see the last case recorded in Chennai, Tamil Nadu, 36 minutes ago, there were 10,072 confirmed cases, in which 9,983 are active cases, and out of which 26 lives have been recovered and 63 deaths have occurred.
Various statistics here, you can see the new cases literally plummeting in India, especially in Tamil Nadu. The situation is really, really bad. The graphs are all showing that more number of people actually are dying in the corona due to the in the second wave as compared to what happened before. So more number of deaths happening in the second wave of corona.
Yes. So we can also see the graph which explains the current state of India, the state of COVID-19 in Tamil Nadu, in Chennai, where we have 2,94,000 totally positive cases, and recovered are 2,60,367 recovered cases, 29,256 active cases, and 4,450 death.
And here, if you can see in the chart, the age group for the number of active cases is somewhere between, the maximum age group it affects is like 30 to 40 years. So somewhere between 20 to 60. That's the center 4 bars, 20 years to 60 years. So that's the age group, with mainly between 30 to 50 years have been the most affected. And keeping account, so here you can see the number of cases versus record versus deaths everywhere. It's the number of deaths are increasing day by day by day.
So this is the current state of COVID-19 pandemic in India, Maharashtra, 2 minutes ago. So we have confirmed 57 lakh, more than 5 crore cases.
Yes, so this is in Maharashtra. What we are seeing here is about confirmed is 57 lakh 57.9 lakh cases, and active is about 2.2 lakhs is active, and recovered is about 54 lakhs have been recovered, and there are about 97,000 deaths just in the state of Maharashtra. You can see actually the number of deaths is drastically more as compared to even last year. So here it's just like COVID in terms of how many, bed management, how was the situation in the hospitals, etc. And here, if you can see, in terms of the total people that have been traced the past 24 hours was 17,000, and the high risk cases are 11,000. So whether it is in Tamil Nadu or Karnataka or Maharashtra, the number of deaths have been drastically high.
Yes. So we can see the news that home quarantine is not possible in India. So the statement made by the Indian government, exactly what the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism has revealed in the Akashic readings and during his satsangs. So the Assam Chief Minister Himanta Biswa Sharma said that the home quarantine is one prime reason for the large number of deaths during the second wave of COVID-19 in Assam. So Assam on Monday, it witnessed 92 deaths, which was the highest single-day deaths in the state. And he said, we have seen more death cases are happening from home isolation, as several people do not keep oximeters and some do not read the counts in the meter properly.
Here you can see the Maharashtra government on Tuesday announced the decision to stop the home quarantine in 18 districts, which showed a higher COVID positivity rate than the state's average. State's Public Health Minister Rajesh Tope said that the decision is taken to ensure better healthcare facilities to patients in districts which are showing a higher positivity rate. So the whole home quarantine is not working, will not work. And if you are convincing yourself that you are safe at home, you are in a grave danger. So please protect yourself immediately. And how we can protect ourselves, what are the options that we have? That's what we're going to be discussing further in today's segment. So here you can see one more article in Business Line which says on how home quarantine is literally impossible in India.
So literally, this article speaks about how home quarantine is not possible in India. So self-isolation for COVID-19 is impossible for 40% of Indian families. So if you read the article, it says, according to the census 2011, about 42% of Indian households were living in houses where, on average, 3 or more people were sharing a room. So in the context of coronavirus, this challenge of physical distancing is greater in rural areas than in the urban ones. And the only one state, Kerala, is looking relatively dignified on this metric.
Now, the real question is, where is the space for home quarantine in cities, especially where people are living in such a packed manner? Home quarantine is literally impossible in India. And the Supreme Pontiff has been repeating this over and over and over again. Home quarantine is not possible in India. Now, when the first world countries are closing their borders during a massive global emergency, Kailasa, on the other hand, has opened its doors to all without exception.
So the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, he reveals, at least 6 months back, I became aware that multi-layer quarantine is needed to protect people. If you are in India and you want to protect your immediate family or extended family, anyone who will listen to you, get them immediately to our campuses.
Now, the free COVID care centers that have been opened across India in Adi Kailash, Bangalore, in Salem Adinam, Tiruvannamalai Adinam, Rajapalayam Adinam, Puduvai Adinam, Pattanam Adinam, Sirugapadi Adinam, Sripuram Adinam, Hyderabad, Avathipalayam, Madurai, Hosur, Baroda, in so many places, the Supreme Pontiff through Kailasa is providing the foreign aid by opening all these Adinams to anybody who want to protect themselves using a multi-layer quarantine.
So Kailasa literally rushes to help as India finds itself on the verge of COVID-19 third wave. So by the following options, multiple free COVID care centers which are opened across India. Various social services are offered during the pandemic in Nithyananda ashrams across India. Spiritual services offered during the pandemic in Nithyananda ashrams, and the cosmic revelations on the global pandemic.
Now, in terms of free social services offered during the pandemic in the ashrams across India, we provide medical care and various different, allopathy as well as holistic medicine, Ayurveda, Siddha medicine, fire safety equipment maintenance, infrastructure to accommodate thousands of people, accommodation for multi-layered quarantine, emergency ambulances and ICU on wheels, personal protective medical equipment, groceries collected for Annadan, and organic farming.
So you can also join this COVID Care Protection Center by registering through the link which is given below, just projected, kailasa.org/Kailasa Care.
Yes. Now, how are we providing these multi-layer quarantine facilities in Adi Kailasa Savanyapita? Let's take a look at it after a short break.
Nithyananda Paramashivoham. There are some great spiritual sciences unique to Hinduism. Subtle, otherworldly, but definitive sign manifesting the cosmic beings in Archavatara, deities in Nijavatara, living incarnations is possible. Understand? Kriya Pada of Vedas and Agamas elaborately explain the whole science of making the cosmic beings manifest in Archavatara, deities and Nijavatara, living incarnation, both. During the Bhava Samadhi Darshan, literally those cosmic beings manifest through this body. Just like how they manifest in Archavatara, deity, they manifest in Nijavatara, Pratyakshavatara, and give you all the boons you ask, bless you. You see, each God is an independent intelligence to lead you to enlightenment. Each God is a bridge for you to achieve the Shivatva, the ultimate Shiva consciousness. Krishna is the bridge for you to achieve the Krishna consciousness. But Shiva consciousness, Krishna consciousness, all consciousness is one and the same. Ultimate consciousness only. So that energy itself completely expresses.
Just like Radhika, when I see my own sweetness in the mirror, I become eager to taste it. I find that the only way to relish this sweetness is through the constitution of Sri Radhika.
Bhava Samadhi Darshan is a window to the infinite expanse of consciousness, allowing us to glimpse the formless in a way that we can understand. It cleanses the karmas of lifetimes. It awakens our biomemory to the space of Paramashiva, the ultimate consciousness, and creates a deep and lasting transformation in us.
There are some great spiritual sciences unique to Hinduism. Subtle, otherworldly, but definitive sign manifesting the cosmic beings in Archavatara, deities in Nijavatara, living incarnations is possible. Understand? Kriya Pada of Vedas and Agamas elaborately explain the whole science of making the cosmic beings manifest in Archavatara, deities and Nijavatara, living incarnations, both. During the Bhava Samadhi Darshan, Literally, those cosmic beings manifest through his body. Just like how they manifest in Archavatara, deity, they manifest in Nijavatara, Pratyakshavatara, and give you all the boons you ask, bless you. You see, each God is an independent intelligence to lead you to enlightenment. Each God is a bridge for you to achieve the Shivatva, the ultimate Shiva consciousness. Krishna is the bridge for you to achieve the Krishna consciousness. But the Shiva consciousness, Krishna consciousness, all consciousness is one and the same. Ultimate consciousness only. So that energy itself completely expresses.
Just like Radhika, when I see my own sweetness in the mirror, I become eager to taste it. I find that the only way to relish the sweetness is through the constitution of Sri Radhika.
Bhava Samadhi Darshan is a window to the infinite expanse of consciousness, allowing us to glimpse the formless in a way that we can understand. It cleanses the karmas of lifetimes. It awakens our biomemory to the space of Paramashiva, the ultimate consciousness, and creates a deep and lasting transformation in us.
There are some great spiritual sciences unique to Hinduism. Subtle, otherworldly, but definitive sign.
So we'll be moving on to the next segment of glimpses from Kailasa's Department of Health on COVID protection for Adi Kailasa Sarvajna Peetham. Yes. So if you can see the immunity boosters and COVID care which is actually provided with allopathic immune boosters, the Zinconia, vitamin D and vitamin C is given and the procurement is done. So through Ayurvedic medicine, immunity boosters are being provided to protect all the residents of Adi Kailasa Sarvajna Peetham. So we also have our Adi Kailasa Sarvajna Peetham's medical representative, Manitya Atmaniranjanama. Yes, we'll also be having a discussion with her. So steaming once a day with tulsi, eucalyptus and nochi and turmeric leaves. So these are the various immune boosters and COVID care that is provided. So all these herbal leaves are taken from the healing trees here in Adi Kailasa. So twice a week consumption of Kabasura Kudineer, which is a mixture of pepper, ginger and cloves and other ingredients extensively aimed for boosting the lungs, improving the respiratory system and treating infectious conditions such as cough, cold and fever. So we also have been giving the Nilavembu Kudineer to be taken once a week, the Agasthyar Legium 5 days, Talisadi Vatakkam 3 to 4 tablets per day for 5 days, Indu Ghanta Kashayam and Amrutottara Kashayam. So both for 5 days, 1 teaspoon with 50 ml of warm water. So these are the various immunity boosters which have been provided in Adi Kailasa. And Sudarshana Gulika once every 5 days. Then we give them gargling with salt and turmeric twice a day. And spiritual routine, Panchakriya, Haritaki, castor oil, neem juice, Pratama Vinyasa Krama, Trinetra Kumbhaka and Puja. So what are the basic sanitation and safety practices? So disposal of soiled pads, infected material and non-biodegradables done through incineration. RO water systems for drinking water. Cleansing and sanitization of overhead tanks is being done. So regular deweeding and maintenance and repair of electrical circuits. Communication facilities for the safety of the residents and compost pit filling with biodegradables. So what is the diagnostic care and COVID care or quarantine methodology we have been following in Adi Kailasa Sarvajna Peetham? So immediately upon arrival to the campus, the occupants will be quarantined for 15 days. Followed by that, a swab test will be taken, RT-PCR test to be done on the day 5 of quarantine, and all the food handlers to be wearing masks and gloves and keeping distance. And disposal of waste food to be done with gloves and masks. Disposal of gloves and masks by incineration. And in case of any emergency, protective kits ready at hand to take a COVID positive patient to hospital. So any of these symptoms, these are the COVID-19 coronavirus symptoms. You can see shortness of breath or difficulty in breathing, loss of speech or mobility or confusion, chest pain. Most common symptoms being fever, cough, tiredness, loss of taste or smell, and less common symptoms being sore throat, having headache, aches and pains, diarrhea, redness or irritated eyes. So the next is the hand washing and the infection control. So washing your hands as often thoroughly with soap and water or with alcohol-based hand sanitizer. So avoid sharing any items, for example, dishes, drinking glasses, cups, or eating utensils, towels, bedding or other items with other residents in the Adhinam. Yes, so joining with us, we also have Dr. Manitya Atmaniranjana Amma, Nithyananda Amma. Yes, could you please unmute?
Nithyananda. Yes.
Yes, ma'am. We can go ahead and we can talk about the mask protection.
So, as Swamiji has very clearly explained about the layered quarantine, right? So basically, at the exit, that's the first level of quarantine, the person who is there receives things from the vendors, or whoever has gone out and comes back to pick up anything. That is the time we have to be extremely careful about wearing the mask, about sanitizing the items which come in, about sanitizing our own hands repeatedly, washing hands regularly, and the mask and the social distancing that needs to happen. So all of it, what is handled at the first layer of quarantine, is with the person who does not mix with the people who are living as inmates inside the Adhinam. So the Adhinavasis are not exposed at all to the vendor. So once that level is actually taken care of, the next is, see, like the mask protection is to wear the mask at all times, especially when we are exposed to the outside people. Now we are talking about the double layered cotton masks, which needs to be changed. See, the maintenance of a mask becomes very important, because as we all know, the black fungus, all the fungal things which are happening now as a result of, one is of course depressed immunity. The second is actually the moistness in the mask. So that has to be actually taken care of. Our sweat itself can be a nidus for the fungus to grow, right? So it needs to be handled correctly. So the mask, the maintenance of the mask becomes extremely important, especially washing it and drying it in the sunlight is very, very important. And if we are using disposable masks, we prefer to use two masks of surgical disposable masks, and we dispose them after one use. We don't use it again. Whereas the N95 mask, which has been actually prescribed for COVID, we can wash it and you can dry it in the sunlight and reuse it. So this is something that we have actually educated all the people inside of the Adhinam. See, as you can see here, this is the N95 mask, which is actually being procured in the Adhinam right now. And it has been given to all the Adhinavasis, and more so when we are actually handling anything once with the dust, or any item where we feel there could be a possible contamination, or now as we're talking about airborne and things like that, it becomes very important. Even if we are in the periphery, we are working along the periphery of the Adhinam, we ensure that we take enough care to wear these masks. And then of course the quarantine people who are in the quarantine now, who come in with an RT-PCR of negative, but we still keep them in the quarantine for 14 days before we do a retest for them and then let them into the community. We are happy to actually inform that the first batch of quarantine is getting over. Okay, and we have actually done the test yesterday. The results are expected today, and we have quite a large number of almost 20 people who will be joining us in the finishing their quarantine and coming. So we are having it in batches, right? So now even when we interact with them, if they have to come out, like the face shield is normally used by the medical people. So this provides us an extra protection as well as the person in the outside, the first layer of the quarantine. So this face shield provides an extra protective wear for people at the gate interacting with the vendors. Then sanitizer, hand washing, steaming. Steaming is a very, very important component for for all of us. We all know that any kind of a high temperature steam can actually kill, it can actually negate the effect of the COVID completely. So this is one is preventive as well as protective quarantine. In fact, all the Adinavasis right now inside of the Adinam, we are doing steaming once a day. Regularly, we are doing the steaming once a day as a protective quarantine. Then we have this kashayams, right? The preventive kashayams, I think Santan Lakshmi will be able to, she'll be joining us shortly. She will be helping us to, know more about the kashayams which are giving. Turmeric salt water, gargling, again becomes important because the turmeric by itself breaks the COVID coat. And that is why it's very, very essential for us to, okay? So thereafter, yeah, ma. And
Yes.
bathing with washing of the clothes with history of any exposure, anything. Actually, our washing of clothes is done only with a regular detergent. Okay, it is not done with anything special. But in terms of maintaining the sanitization of the rooms or of the the tables where we receive the parcels, all that is done with the sodium hypochlorite solution. Okay, and at any point of time we have symptoms, we attend to it immediately. It is not that anytime anybody, definitely in the Adina, but particularly in the quarantine, we take their reports every day. We ensure that all these things are done every day by them. It starts with, of course, the symptoms. If they're having any symptoms of COVID, which could be vague symptoms. Right now there are many symptoms that are coming out. It could be just a headache, it could just a dry cough, it could be just a pain, a diarrhea. So many things are coming up as symptoms of the COVID. Every day we monitor the health of the person in the quarantine. That is getting their records, medical records. Next is, of course, their temperature, so that we have an objective recording of the temperature, which is done for all the quarantine people. Third, we see to it that they take the kashayams, they do the gargling, they have the steam inhalation, and then we have their spiritual routine, the yoga component, the puja component, which is done, and then uh, as a routine, what we see, the oxygenation is taken only if there is any kind of a difficulty in breathing. At that point of time, we do measure it with the pulse oximeter. So we have actually see, if in the quarantine itself, there is one person who takes up the responsibility. They start preparing the kashayams, and they help us a lot in actually doing all this. And even the cleaning of the the place where they're staying, they have really taken it up. So I know it's a very energetic way of actually handling their own things and being responsible for that room. So they don't want any of us also to come in and help them. Of course, all of us are there, we are ready, we are wearing our mask, we have cleaned the bathrooms and things like that. But apart from all of that, they have taken up the responsibility, and they're telling us we will do that cleaning. So it is becoming a very very interactive and very energetic way of the quarantine itself is becoming they're very enthusiastic about the whole thing. I can only say that. Of course, it's a well ventilated, we are even if there is any dormitory which is even suggested to them, we have a social distancing which is being maintained there. So it is actually at a 6 feet distance that the beds are put, so that there is no kind of even interaction on a different note. And
Amazing,
can I
ma'am.
have the next slide?
So, yes, ma'am. So we can now move on to the quarantine rules. Yes.
Yeah. So the basically the quarantine rules is, whoever is actually in the first line of quarantine, the person who's there, preferably they do not interact with any elderly person, pregnant woman, or any person who has a comorbid disease, like probably diabetes, hypertension, any cardiac problem, asthmatic, especially lung status and things like that. If there's any issue, we ensure that they don't come in contact at all. We'll literally protect them and see to it. That is the reason why actually what we are doing is getting a medical form which is filled up by the people who are going to come in. So in that, we have a complete history of what they may be having, or the prescription they're taking for the comorbid diseases that they have. So we ensure that they are given complete, protection, and no exposure can happen to anybody in terms of the COVID. And we restrict the movement within the area itself. The first line of quarantine, as I told you, was the person who's handling the vendor. They do not come into the Adinam at all. They stay there. They do everything in terms of their stay, their bathing, everything. They provided everything in the first line of quarantine itself. So their only thing is handling the vendors and getting the parcels, the packages, sterilizing them, spraying them with a sanitizer, sanitizing themselves, and we ensure that they take their RT-PCR test regularly, because that becomes important. At what time, any exposure can happen, so we have to ensure that their protection also. So that is something that we are ensuring. And recently, of course, we have done the COVID test for two people who are there. One is a first line, is a person who's a security in charge, and just at the next gate level we have one of our brahmacharis who are there. So both of them, we regularly do the RT-PCR to ensure that they do not have COVID at all. Then the sanitization of the parcels which are received, and after all the deliveries happen, we the packages, if there's any cover to it, we discard it and only take the items inside, or we completely spray it with a disinfectant, or even keep it outside 24 hours in the sunlight, if that kind of a thing, so that we ensure that there is no contamination with the COVID. And of course, for the disinfection, we have the sodium hypochlorite solution, which can be used to just wipe tables. It's just a liquid which can be used to wipe. It's the chlorine which comes out, and so it helps to disinfect. The other disinfection, of course, is our sanitizer, which we ensure has at least 70% or more of alcohol in it. Then uh, okay, so when it comes to anything, if at all we feel that there are symptoms there, if fever continues to more than 5 days in the quarantine group, or if a fever returns in the second week, or the fever is more than 101 degrees after day 4, because we are expecting something to happen after day 4 only, because symptoms start picking up at that time. And if the resting heart rate is greater than 110, breathlessness, any tightness in the chest, oxygen saturation less than 94%, and then we have what is called as a 6-minute walk test. In that, we actually do the pulse oximeter check and the check out of the saturation to see if everything is fine. If it drops to below 94%, we know that there is something requires to be attended to that person. And relentless coughing, that is continuous coughing. So this is actually our mobile ICU, as Samashi calls it. It's actually the state-of-the-art ambulance. It has all the equipments possible inside, and we have a triple monitor. We have a suction apparatus. We have a ventilator. We have the oxygen cylinder, 2 jumbo cylinders, and we have also the drip, monitoring equipment, and of course a pulse oximeter. We have both types of pulse oximeter. It becomes easy for us to actually monitor the person. And we have a medical team and a support team. So the medical team, we don't allow all the medical people to go out, because then they have to also be in quarantine. So if we have 3 or 4 of us, only one person goes out if there's an emergency. And we have support teams, and one person of the support team which supports the movement of the person outside of the campus.
Right.
Then
so what is the second line of quarantine? So how do we manage that?
Yeah, we have Santan Lakshmi also here. So she is actually our Ayurvedic specialist and the naturopath, and we can actually get a lot of information from her regarding the kashayams that we actually give as a immune booster for them. So Ma, would you like to take on the second line of quarantine? Second line of quarantine. Yeah. They are showing the slide, no? No.
Yes. So we also have here Ma Santana Lakshmi Ma here.
Yes. We have Dr. Santana Lakshmi who's a naturopathy doctor from Adi Kailasa Sarvanya Pita, who is joining us to share about what is happening in Adi Kailash, how we are providing the holistic healing solutions to the people who are coming to Adi Kailash as a part of the COVID care protection scheme that we are offering to public in Adi Kailash. So I request the interview operator to please project myself and Dr. Atmananjana and Dr. Santana Lakshmi. Yes. Yes, Ma. Santan Lakshmi ma'am, if you can share what are the preparations that we are doing in terms of holistic healing, holistic healthcare solutions. Yes, ma'am. Can you please unmute yourself?
Nithyanandam.
Yes, Nithyananda ma'am. Yes, ma'am. We are able to hear you now. Please go ahead.
Thanks for this opportunity. So here I would like to say about in the second line quarantine of the COVID protection and prevention what we are following in the Adi Kailash.
Yes, please.
So, can I get the slide?
Yes.
So basically in second line quarantine, we will be before itself checking that the patient is, as Swamiji suggests, they have to come with the COVID negative. So soon after their entry, we will be making sure that
hearing some background noise, ma'am, where you are. So if you can please take care of the background noise, we are going to be right back with you. We'll be continuing to share what we are. If you can, please see if there is a way where we can get rid of the background noise, some noise coming from your mic, so that can be fixed. Yes, in the meanwhile, Dr. Atmanajrama, so in terms of the facilities that we are providing to people in Adi Kailash, in terms of how we are maintaining the multi-layer quarantine, what are the different ways we are providing this in Adi Kailash? If you can elaborate a little bit more while we have Dr. Santan Lakshmi back with us.
Even as they come in, we ensure that we have a negative RT-PCR. Okay, that is the first requisite for us, and it has to be an RT-PCR test and not a RAT test. The RAT test is a rapid antigen test, which will detect a lot of false negative cases, and it may be showing negative, but they may be positive for COVID. So to ensure that that is not there, we say have the PCR test, which ensures a more sensitive result. With that, they actually take after ensuring that they come down. Actually, they start out within 24 hours. They get a go signal from us, and they start out within 24 hours and come to Bididi. Bididi, we have a place where we have.
As soon as they get the test results, ma'am. So let's say
Yeah,
I take the test today, and I get the test results in 48 hours. And now after I get the test results, within 24 hours, I leave.
That's right, because immediately they send the result to us. We ensure that it's the right test that they have done, get back to them along with the admin, and let them know that they can start out for Bididi. That is Adi Kailash. So once they start out, they need to come to Bididi and take a set of tests, lab tests have to be taken here in Bididi. The reason they were very apprehensive to go and do the test there and then get the RT-PCR test, actually initially we wanted these other lab tests to be done to ensure the safety of the community and also to know their medical status. See, the individual medical status also becomes important, because we are actually not just handling the COVID, we are also handling individuals here who could have some other issues like hypertension, diabetes, asthma, any comorbid medical history could be there. So to ensure that all of it is right, or anything which can be contagious for a community living. So those are the tests that we actually want done before they come into the Adinam. So initially what the whole thing was about, taking the tests first, then getting it reviewed by us and getting the RT-PCR test done thereafter. But because the situation is so bad outside, even going to a hospital to do the test would mean an exposure to COVID. So right now we are doing the RT-PCR test first, and as they come and land in Bididi, they go to this laboratory, which is actually here. The person has ensured that there are no COVID patients who are coming to the lab. So they are very safe. They come, they give the blood for the testing and do the ECG and come into the Adinam, and we accommodate them into the quarantine straight away. So the very next day, we have the reports also ready with us from the local lab. And we also request that they fill up a medical form which has their history. So at any point of time they've had any problem, we want the prescription, and we also ensure that they get at least 2 months of the medication, so that it gives us a little time to procure medications for them if they want us to do that. That is one. The second thing is, we also ensure that they've not, if they've had a COVID exposure earlier and they've been COVID positive earlier, it makes it's very important for us. And now that they're negative, it becomes more important for us to track them closely. So that is also very important. So this is a basic requirement for us when they come into the Adinam. And thereafter, of course, they enter into the quarantine rooms. And in the quarantine, it's actually a quarantine for 14 days, 14 to 15 days. That is actually, we ensure that all of which I had told you all earlier. I think now, Ma Santan Lakshmi, would you like this? Because she is really doing a lot in terms of the kashayams. They're actually doing so much of good to them. So we not only we have allopathy immune boosters, we also have